Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I've started some modifications on the snowblower. I'm hoping this will add some added power and torque. Right now I was running everything off a single motor. I kind of based that off of this one quite a bit smaller skid steer snowblower I've seen where they ran it with one motor. Basically they built a snowblower that was either for a compact, subcompact utility tractor or skid steer. So they ran one hydraulic motor through gearbox, running everything off one. Well, that's what I did to start out with here, but I think I can get more power by adding a second motor. So the first motor has about 2,500 inch-pounds of torque, runs a little over 700 RPMs, no load, and that was running the whole works. Well, this motor here is going to get put on here to run the front auger, and that motor at the same gallons per minute will put out about 4,500 inch-pounds of torque at 380 RPMs. So that sprocket right there will put the front auger about the right speed that it was before. These guys are going to be running in series, so it's going to go pressure from the skid loader to that motor, from that motor to that motor, and then back to the skid steer. So you'll be using the same gallons at about double the pressure. So hoping to scrub a little more horsepower and torque out of the skid steer, because you can hardly tell that it's under a load right now. So you'll have 4,500 inch-pounds of torque taking care of the front motor, or the front auger, 2,500 inch-pounds on the fan, instead of 2,500 inch-pounds running the whole works. And a lot of pretty much all of the skid steer snowblowers that are decent run two motors, but they generally run the auger motor in the auger. The reason for that is then you don't have the chain to deal with, and I would love to do that, but it'd take more fabrication, and two, I have that motor, and with that sprocket you'll accomplish the same thing, and a lot cheaper price. If one day this one goes out, I may consider putting one in the auger, but I'll have to see. I can probably get these motors cheaper than I can get the ones that I would need to go in the auger, because they would have to be about double the displacement of this guy, so it'd be about half the RPMs to get the right speed on the auger. Well, I started making a pattern for the new motor bracket, so let's get to that. Here's what I have for a pattern laid out so far. I started by making a pattern of just the shape of that side piece, and then I got my pieces that I want to set it out. So I want to try to make this all out of one piece of steel, and I'll fold these edges over, and the motor will go right there, and this will all go onto that framework. And there we have a pattern. See how that fits. So the plan is for this to try to get it to go in like that. Well, I can't believe I did this, but for whatever reason I measured wrong. I was supposed to have 3 3/4. I did like 2 inches. Well, that should be easy enough. When I go to make this out of steel, I'll just make sure I have these flaps long enough. Well, it looks like I'll have just barely enough. I'll be a little bit short here, and just in the corners there. This is a nice heavy piece of steel. That'll be quite difficult to bend. Well, I swore I hit record, but apparently not. So I made a couple cuts already on the piece here. I was using a really big tip, but I don't know what happened to it. Started acting up when it got hot when I was cutting. So I switched to a different one. Oh, I'd love to have a plasma cutter. I used to use one at my last job. There's a lot nicer cuts than with the torch. I'll get the saw cleaned up with the grinder, see if we can get this bent. Well, I was going to try this tip again. Not sure if you guys can see it, but whole center burned out of it. Maybe got 5 minutes of use, 10 at the most out of this tip, and then it like backfired and burned the inside out. So I'll have to try to see if the smaller one here will get it hot enough to bend that. I don't have a brake or anything. Well, that worked okay. It's the first time I got up on the workbench to get something to bend though. Maybe this next one here I'll bend this way. Time to bend it the other way. Might be hot enough. I didn't have it quite hot enough, but I think it looks pretty good. Hey, would you look at that? Kind of looks like it might fit. Here I got the bracket all trued up and stuff, and holes drilled in it for bolting it to the snowblower. Gonna take our pattern here, which I already got my measurements on, of where the motor is going to be, and I'm just going to take a punch and transfer this. And the motor has a 3 1/4 inch inner bore mounting plate diameter. And that's exactly what this washer is. This washer here just happens to be an upper 3-point link washer for, it holds upper 3-point arms on a Farmel tractor, International, like my 806. Had an extra one laying here, just happens to be the right size. So I'll mark that and can cut it out with the torch. Now we can blast that out. See how good I can chew that circle out with the torch. Not terrible for not really being able to see the lines. I can't ever seem to keep chalk around. It gets broke right away. So best I have right now is a pencil. But that actually isn't too bad. A little cleaning up here and there. think just a little bit on this one side here. That looks like that should work. Go mark these holes so I can get them drilled in that plate. I think I'm just gonna squirt a little spray paint down in there. I'll burn them in there a little bit more, but that will allow me to only have to use a wrench on the one side. Well, this thing's all ready to be bolted on to the blower. Got the sprocket on. Motor's bolted up tight. Threw a little paint on. Pretty tight fit. Got the chain all fed through. Can adjust our tensioner now. Now I'm going to try to bend this back into place. This will add a little bit of rigidity, because it's going to wiggle. Now that everything's all bolted up on there, we can send the power to the other motor. This is what we have to do Let's take this line off this one. Put this line in its place. And then this line goes onto this port. And then this other line will go onto this other port. Now is what we're going to have is the pressure is going to come in on this line. It's going to go into that motor. Some of the power is going to be used there. It's going to raise the hydraulic pressure. It's going to send the return oil over to this one. That's going to use some of the oil flow and add some pressure. Then it's going to return it back to the skid steer on this other line. I'll get these fittings all tightened up. Then we should be able to spin this thing by hand and make sure everything goes the right direction by coupling these two together. Now, one thing that in this motor configuration is what you would normally do is this is a case drain. Normally with one motor, this being pressure, this being return, you wouldn't have to worry about a case drain because there should be almost no restriction on this line. Now when you're running them in series like this, then you should run a case drain. Any leakage past the sealing surfaces in the hydraulic motor will come into the case. And if that builds too much pressure, it'll blow the front seal out or split the case. The front seal would probably go first. I don't have the parts to do this yet. Basically it's a O-ring boss fitting and a hose. But if I blow the seal, then I got to put a seal kit in. That's originally why these motors were thrown out. This one weeps a little bit. So if I gotta do a seal kit, I gotta do a seal kit. According to the specs, it should work because of what they claim for the pressure ratings and whatnot. But we'll see what happens. I'm gonna get these things all tightened up, then we'll give it a spin. Sometimes these connectors go together pretty hard. Other times they don't. So with that connected, should be able to just make a loop. And this will turn this way. We don't have enough oil in there. So I'll have to hook it up to the machine. I welded this U-bolt on here so I could run my hoses through there to protect them from the pinch points. It also keeps them out of the track. Looks like to me everything's turning the right way. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe. Next time, I'll be diving into some snow with this, seeing if it's got more power. It's hard to do a side-by-side comparison, but we'll see what we can find out. Take care. God bless. Hey, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
Did I scare you?
Yes. Figured I'd come in here and make sure you aren't dying or dead or something.
Oh, that's quite considerate of you. Thank you.